So this is going to be a little review of this Adetu 6-inch downlight that is designed, with it's very slim. It's got these clips on each end. This particular light has this color selector, which is actually quite nice. And what you get with this is a plastic J box with 1/2-inch cutouts. You can see there's 4 total. It does come with this little plastic connector, which is just great for Romex, because it's got a inside there a tension, basically a plastic tension spring that just is designed to hold the Romex in place. I'm using 14 gauge solid copper Romex here. Inside the box you've got all 3 connections: hot, neutral, and ground. And it does come with these little these little orange wire nuts, and these are pretty small. I'm not immediately familiar with the sizes of wire nuts, but this is definitely only capable of holding probably 2 or 3 at the most 14 gauge wire. So if you're bringing in 2 or even 3 different connections into this little tiny J box, you're going to end up having to use bigger connectors, and I've already dealt with that a little bit. So I'm going to show that here. Next, I'm just going to kind of come up and show you what I'm doing. I've got many of these now cut, these 6-inch holes in the ceiling, and I'm putting these in. I'm going to show in a minute here some of my concerns about these, and some of the challenges I've faced with them. I've used, well, actually I can just move across the ceiling here. I've used a lot of these different kinds of, a lot of these surface, these narrow clip 6-inch, 4-inch, and even 8-inch surface lights, and all the others I've used have a separate. This is what it looks like as in a finished configuration, and this is the challenge that I have with this particular style. You can see the gap with this. If you're bringing in anywhere near, like if you have a configuration where you're bringing in multiple wires, you tend to have a challenge with the J box and the LED driver actually sitting right directly on top of this little light. And my personal preference is that you end up with most of the other lights of this style have this little plastic J box or metal J box and LED driver as something that's separate, with a small 2 or 3 connection wire nut or wire connection that you screw together, and that way the actual J box can sit literally on top of the jip board or drop-in ceiling system you have, and then you just have the light with the clips sitting in the hole. That's from my perspective much easier to install and much easier to get flush with the ceiling, because if you have a narrow ceiling with insulation like I do here, this style, and if you have more than 2 of those, like a 14 or a 12 gauge wire, it's just really, it pushes harder against the tension of the wire against this little J box, tends to mess with the strength of these springs, and you end up with this kind of a situation where it's almost impossible to get it to sit flush. In this case, I'm going to have to pull this out and do a little work to relieve the tension from the wire, the stiffness of the wire there. So anyway, that's what I have here, and I'll take a few photos or do some video of the what it looks like when it's done. I'm using 3500 color temperature for mine. So as a follow-up to my previous video, this is a sample of these lights in action. I've got these set here, so you can see a little bit of the gap right there. And as I walk through, just going to show some competitor lights and just how much more flush they are. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna shut these off just to show that by contrast. If I can find the switch, that is. Anyway, they sit just very, very much flush or tighter against that ceiling. And then as I come in here and I shut these off, it's a little bit easier to see. And this is after pretty much all the work that I can do to get them flush, and they're just not as they're just a lot more difficult. And I'm going to do a little bit more work, and I may even actually use a couple of small screws or clips just to get them to sit a little bit tighter. So anyway, they're beautiful as far as the color is concerned, and the brightness. I find these excellent. So can't complain about that. Just need to work around the challenge from my perspective of having that integrated junction box and driver.